we've seen some weakness in the markets, and I know that likely puts a smile on your face. It's odd to see that we almost had 7 straight days. On Friday we had a little bit of a green bar there, but almost 7 straight days of Nasdaq selling. Kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean, I've been actually kind of displeased because it's, you know, nominally red, I suppose, but it's until today it wasn't acting that way. I think part of my displeasure is anchored in the fact that, you know, I'm so heavily into like the whole semiconductor microelectronic space that that's really where I really want to see weakness, and today's more my speed, definitely. And in my, you know, as I call it, my thesis of bullish precious, bearish equities has been kind of a North Star for me, and I'm feeling more strongly about that than ever. It's heartening to see the likes of gold and silver being so strong. Just 71 days until the election. I think we're going to be in a very weird environment until then, but it's going to get fascinating afterward in the trading world.
Yeah, I just had an interview with Russell Clark, and he was saying that he is also super bullish gold long term, and he said an interesting stat: 10% of the net worth of Asian cultures is in gold or around that level, where the Western side over here it's much less. What do you think about that? Is that kind of a part of your bullish thesis of just like inventorying gold in case the US dollar collapses, or is it?
No, it's really just based on ratio charts. Many months ago, maybe even years, I'm not sure, but I just really took a hard look at any given metal versus any given equity index, and they all were like screamingly bullish if it was metal divided by equity, and screamingly bearish if it was the opposite. And so that's not a 30-minute trade. That's sort of like if I have to do something and can't touch it 5 or 10 years kind of trade. It's, you know, for gold, spent decades doing nothing. I mean, after 2000, it was just a horrible place to be. And just in recent 2 or 3 years, it's really woken up. And, you know, there was a bit of a mania early this year in January, got really silver and gold, and then just sort of flamed out at the end of January. But my prediction as it started to erode was we're going to get back down to 4,000 before we start this new phase. The good news is I nailed it. It hit 4,000. The bad news is I didn't do a damn thing about it. So now I just like ruefully watch. It's like, I wish I owned more gold, and, you know, I keep waiting for a better price. It's like, no, Tim, the better price is 4,000, like you said. So it's shame on me. But yeah, I can easily see over 6,000 before the calendar year's over.
Yeah, I mean, we were just shy of that into this huge rip higher, but I think this was kind of like a liquidation, get the leverage out, feels like, and now we're climbing higher more sustainably. So yeah, could be interesting.
And what's confounding to me, and we'll show a couple of charts on this, is that, you know, I sort of decried Bitcoin as like the digital gold, but it sure is acting like it. And as I said recently, and did some video on this, my view that Bitcoin was headed for a really big bear market of its own went from like an 80% certainty down to like more like 30%, because it seemed to have found a happy bottom at around 60,000 and just hung out there for weeks and weeks and weeks. And only in the past, 6, 7 trade, trades 365. So basically over the past week, it's just been a phenomenon, like a plus $15,000 to $20,000 from that base, and it's still churning. So yeah, let's just touch on a couple of charts to kind of augment what we were just talking about. So in the case of gold futures, GC, it has just shoved aside any kind of resistance. It pushed its way out of this right triangle pattern. It pushed its way out of this descending trend line. And that's the struggle for some, including me. It's like, well, do you chase this thing, or do you kind of cross your fingers and hope it eases back? Put it this way: if for whatever crazy reason this thing sank to 43, even 4,200, you won't be able to hold me back, because that's going to seem like a bargain. But as it is now, if you told me, no, it's just going to go up, $50 to $100 day after day, it's like I could see that happening. This thing has power, particularly with this crazy week we've got ahead of us. Nvidia, not so much, but definitely Jackson Hole. And to the Bitcoin, just to juxtapose, here's Bitcoin itself, which plain as day spent the time from entering this range early in June, grinding around. Everybody's kind of falling asleep at their keyboards. And in retrospect, we can see that the end of that was August 17, and it's been a green bar every single day since then. I would say that although my belief that this is going to constitute this enormous bearish pattern has really just been ground into hamburger, and I really doubt it's going to happen now. I do think that a sink back down to even the high 60s or 70-ish is completely plausible, because this was very far, very fast. We're approaching resistance by way of this trend line and this former top. So short term, underlining that, I think that you could have a bearish trade at hand for Bitcoin. But longer term, yeah, I think maybe this whole thing, digital gold, maybe they're right.
Yeah, I mean, it is a wild rally here. A lot of that was short covering based on the flows, but I think this is like the fact that it's continuing here, and as the equities and Nasdaq continue to sell off here, Bitcoin keeps reaching new session highs or close to it, I think is pretty telling.
Yeah, in terms of equities, got kind of some interesting stuff cooking here. The ES NQ pair. So we have ES, which, as you mentioned, save for just a little bit of relief. These little green bars on Wednesday and Friday. It's been essentially slowly and slipping its way lower. We are cleanly below this blue line, which merely represents what had been the former high. But I think psychologically it's a little bit important, because to my eyes, this is a failed bullish breakout. It did not follow through. But the more important thing for my own disposition is tech, is NQ. And as I've said pretty much daily, we failed to even have the strength to tag this descending trend line and save for this blip. We have spent this time just sort of grinding our way lower. And of course, I think as we get to Wednesday afternoon, people will sit more and more firmly on their hands because that is the big tech event this week. What's going to happen with Nvidia, which, by the way, is slicing below that midline you and I talked about on Friday.
Yeah, this has been surprisingly weak, all things considered, especially when like the VIX is not super high right now. We're sitting at a 17.5 in the U contract, in the VIX futures, and the VIX itself is at 1590. So the fact that Nvidia has had 7 straight red days, and this is the biggest one yet, I think is really interesting ahead of earnings this week. It could be a scenario where they just destroy earnings per share, destroy revenue numbers, but their capex is so high that the market gets a little spooked. What do you think?
Well, I think it's kind of like no one's speaking the unspeakable truth. I mean, everybody sort of knows about the circular financing. They sort of know that if there's any major player that quietly announces, well, we're going to dial back, we're going to hold back, we're going to pull back, then the house of cards gets wobbly in a big hurry. It almost kind of doesn't matter what the revenues and profits are, because they, with all the circular financing on, they're kind of guaranteed that they're growing, and they sort of have to keep growing at this pace to justify these valuations. What's more important, I would think, is just the conference call. How are they spending the financing? How are they spending their relationships with these hyperscalers? I'll be sitting on my hands as well to some degree, because I think until the conference call is over and you've seen how the market has digested it, it'll be unclear. It could, it's going to be kind of binary, I think. Either A, people will be reassured and the hand-wringing we've seen recently will get dispatched at once, or there's going to be a like, oh my God kind of moment, and the diminishment we've seen will really accelerate. I do not have, I mean, I love charts and talking about what I think is going to happen next. The word I keep going back to in this is just inscrutable. I mean, we're just in this trading range. Yeah, it's a big drop today, but we're still banging around the same range we've been in since Easter. So you got me, but it demands close observation Wednesday evening, definitely.
Yeah, and I think the eerie part of this is that you have a really low implied volatility for earnings. Not really low, but like 5% for Nvidia is pretty low. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've split the stock price. It's a huge market cap valuation, so like it's just not going to move all that much. It's not going to have a 20% IV for earnings because that would be just an insane market cap move. But when you look at the equidistant out of the money options with Nvidia trading at 210, if you look at the 200 put for this week trading at $2.50 basically, and then you look at the 220 call out of the money, 10 points out of the money, it's trading for 250 as well. There's really not that much skew. There's like no skew here at all, where a lot of these tech stocks have had call skew where the velocity of risk has been perceived to the upside. This one is just kind of like a pick 'em here with a let's just see what happens. Like it's really weird.
Yeah, two giant shrugging shoulders on either side of that midline. And the last thing I'll say is that one sector I've been kind of fond of on the short side, which is acting pretty uniform. There's got to be some better way to put it. I always just call it kind of the SpaceX/rocket/satellite sector, basically anything with a rocket engine on it. But SpaceX itself has conformed to this range I've talked about, kind of the 104-150 range. We've been trapped within, but the peewee versions of SpaceX, I'm short all of them, and they're doing pretty good. We got EchoStar down today. We've got Viasat down today. You can see just a whole series of 7, 8 red bars in a row. Rocket Lab down today as well. So that's a sector that's kind of fallen out of favor. Because SpaceX is finally public, so those little guys have been falling for months, and B, because the fervor of the SpaceX bounce has stopped a few days ago, and so things are sinking alongside it.
Yeah, a weak start to the week, to be sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, but Tim, appreciate your time. Thanks for the insights as always, and we'll see you a little bit later today.
Good luck, everybody. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. E-minis down 20, NASDAQ down 330. We got Julia coming up on the other side of this break. You're watching Tasty Live.